Michael is such a noob whale. We've been doing this for how long?
Robin, my wife, works for the New York City Department of Education, and her paid maternity leave has ended. She got 6 weeks, and I think that's like fairly standard. So think about that. Think about how young or how tiny a 6-week-old baby is. And the fact that the mother is expected to go back to work after 6 weeks seems insane, does it not?
Isn't 3 months more like standard in most places? 6
Well,
weeks does seem pretty short.
I don't know. Maybe that's not the standard, but that's what her policy is. We know 2 other
That's what
people.
I'm saying. That almost seems short. That almost seems short to me.
6 weeks seems very short.
Yeah, I always thought 3 months was the standard if you get it, but
So her job is secured. She can come back. She'll be back next year, but I don't know.
there's no pay in the meantime, basically.
Yeah, I just thought so we have friends who are going back to work after the 6-week period, and it's like sad to like be dropping your 6-week-old child off at daycare. It's pretty tough.
Well, there's no. So I was going to talk about this later in the show. Might as well bring it up now. Someone put out this paper, and I guess it's from like 2007, so it's probably even higher than it is now. But it's called "Changes in Parental Spending on Children, 1972 to 2007," and they broke down how much you spend on accessories, education, daycare, babysitting. Basically, everything else is flat, and daycare is up like 2,000% since 1970s. And part of it is probably because most people just didn't use daycare back then.
Well, because oftentimes there was a single family household. I'm sorry, single income household.
I feel like daycare is like the next student loan crisis.
Don't
you think for young people, like going through, like I don't see like people say maybe housing, but I don't think housing is that big of a deal. And I think daycare for people is like the one thing. Like we always talk about, the previous generations didn't have to deal with student loan debt. They were paying like $500 a semester or something for college. The previous generation didn't have to deal with daycare expenses that were this high either.
Well, I agree with you because there's not a housing crisis in the sense that if you can't afford to buy a home, there's an alternative. You rent. What's the alternative to daycare? I guess the mother staying home potentially.
Yeah, there are. I mean, there's always huge trade-offs.
You make her career progress very difficult, and we spoke about this a few weeks ago on the show that there was an idea to have mandatory paternity leave to like level the playing field, so that women don't get unfairly disadvantaged. But yes, you're right. Like daycare is an enormous expense.
Yes, unless you have a family member willing to step up and take that one for you, which a lot of people just don't have that option. It's tough. You either spend a lot of money or you lose money in terms of income. There are no. I just don't understand why it would be obviously hard to put this through. Like why daycare is not, because it's regulated by the state. There are huge regulations on daycare systems, and why it's not part of like the public school system almost. They have a public school system that we pay taxes into. Why isn't daycare part of that system? That's my pie in the sky.
Well, why is that pie in the sky? Why can't we make something like that happen?
I hope we do someday. Because it's really hard for people. We have 3 kids in daycare. Well, we just had our first one come off in kindergarten this year, but it's not easy.